In 2010, a Croatian teenager went to sleep with a severe headache. She was 13 years old, a normal girl, living a normal life. When she woke up the next morning, something was wrong. She could no longer speak Croatian, her native language, the language she had spoken every single day of her life. But she could speak something else. Fluent, flawless, German. A language she had only just begun studying at school. A language she barely knew a word of the night before. Her parents were terrified. Her doctors were baffled. And the scientific community had no explanation. But this was not the first time something like this had happened. And the cases that came before it are even stranger. In 1970, a Pennsylvania woman named Gretchen underwent hypnotic regression therapy. Under hypnosis, her entire personality changed. She began speaking in fluent medieval German, a dialect so archaic that modern German speakers could barely understand it. She claimed to be a woman named Gretchen who had lived in Germany in the 1600s. She answered detailed questions about medieval German life. She used words and grammatical structures that linguists confirmed were accurate to that period. Words that had not been used in centuries. Words she could not have encountered in any book, any film, any classroom. Researchers were stunned. This phenomenon has a name, xenoglossy, the spontaneous ability to speak or understand a language that was never learned. And the cases go back centuries. In 1862, a German woman named Helene Smith began speaking and writing in what she claimed was the language of Mars. Linguists dismissed it, but others noticed something extraordinary. The language was internally consistent. It had its own grammar, its own vocabulary, its own rules. It wasn't random noise. It was a structured linguistic system that appeared fully formed from nowhere. Now here is where neuroscience enters. The brain has a region called Broca's area, responsible for language production, and another called Wernicke's area, responsible for language comprehension. In cases of extreme neurological events, strokes, seizures, high fevers, severe migraines, these regions can be dramatically altered. Connections that were dormant suddenly activate. Pathways that were blocked suddenly open. Some neuroscientists believe that the brain stores far more than we consciously access. That buried beneath our awareness are layers of linguistic and cognitive ability we have no idea we possess. That under the right conditions, those buried layers can surface, fully formed, fully functional, as if they were always there, waiting. But this explanation only goes so far, because it cannot account for medieval German dialects that no living person speaks. It cannot account for languages that contain consistent grammar and vocabulary with no known source. And it cannot account for the Croatian girl who woke up one morning as someone who seemed different, not just linguistically, but in personality, in memory, in the way she moved through the world. And this is where philosophy asks the question that science cannot answer. Who was she when she woke up? John Locke argued that personal identity is defined by continuity of consciousness and memory, that you are you because you remember being you. But what happens when that continuity breaks? What happens when you wake up and the language of your own life is gone? Are you still the same person? Or did someone else wake up in your body? Carl Jung proposed the concept of the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of shared human experience buried beneath individual awareness, a deep layer of the mind that contains not just personal memories, but the accumulated experience of the entire human species. Archetypes, symbols, patterns, encoded not in books or schools, but in the structure of the mind itself. What if language is part of that inheritance? What if buried somewhere beneath your conscious awareness is access to more than you think you know? What if the self you believe yourself to be is just the surface of something infinitely deeper? The Croatian girl eventually recovered her native language, but for weeks, she existed in a space between identities, neither fully the person she was before, nor fully whoever had emerged. Doctors called it a neurological anomaly, but she described it differently. She said it felt like waking up inside someone else's life, like looking at the world through eyes that were hers, but had seen things she hadn't. And perhaps that is the most unsettling truth these cases reveal. Not that the brain can do extraordinary things, but that the self is far more fragile than we believe. That the person you are today is not inevitable. That a single night, a single fever, a single moment of neurological disruption could wake up tomorrow, speaking a language you never learned, carrying memories you never made, being someone you never chose to be. And somewhere beneath all of that, something would still be watching, still present, still aware, just as it always has been. This is Veil of Being. Subscribe. Because some questions don't just seek answers, they change how you see reality.